Amazing, amazing. Well, look, Warren, brother, it's amazing to have you on, get the second episode in. Thanks so much for coming. I've been fortunate enough to have many conversations with you already, so it's great to have you on, brother.
100%. In fact, after I saw the video that you did with David as well, I was quite impressed with what you're doing and more than happy to be a part of it.
Appreciate it, Warren. Look, for everyone who kind of maybe might have seen a video or two about you, or what is it that like your life has actually looked like? I mean, like how have you actually gotten to where you are right now and the years before?
Yeah, 100%. I think for anybody listening, I'll tell you the end point right now and then go through the story. Over the last like 4 years, after I left McDonald's was from
Mm.
like 16 to 19, went into door-to-door sales, then went into online sales, went into managing my own teams, building companies to 500,000, million a month, then also scaling out Affinity sales training, which was a complete accident, really. I mean, we
Yeah.
are managing sales teams and we needed more closers and setters and salespeople for our own team. So like we literally did trainings for free for 2 weeks for like no, twice a week for like I think it was 8 months. And then from there it just kind of like spiraled into a business. I feel like the best businesses in the world are kind of done by accident because people have been asking for it. And so we run the largest sales training organization all over Europe. And also we have just launched Payday, which allows commission only or any incentive sales rep get paid out guaranteed at the point of sale. There's no other business in the world that does this. And so I'm quite excited about that as well.
Amazing, amazing. I want to touch on payday, but first, you kind of you're talking there about how you were in McDonald's for about 3 years, and then you actually took the step into door-to-door sales. What did that actually look like for you, and why did you make that change?
Yeah, 100%. I think there was a couple of reasons for
Mm.
looking to get out. I mean, from 16, like before I was 16, I think a lot of people go through the same similar route where like you're really good at sports and maybe doing multiple sports at the same time up until about 15, 16. And all of a sudden people are getting better at you than in the sport. And you have two choices, either to choose one sport and get really good at that or like slowly become behind the better players.
Yeah.
And what I ended up choosing at the time was like, well, I'm not making any money. Let me like at least get a job. So I ended up getting a job and working in McDonald's from like 16 to 19. I did a year out of college. I
Mm.
just said, you know what? I'm not really sure what I wanted to do at 18. Let me like just put a pause for this for a year and I'll come back to it. And I worked there for the whole year. I think by the end of it, I had like 8 or 9 thousand saved. And I was like, damn, like I worked an entire year, 365 days just to have 8,000 in my account. I was like, surely, like I was just doing the maths in my head. I was like, if I do this for 10 years, I might have 80K in my account. That's that doesn't even buy me a quarter of a house.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
that doesn't even get me a quarter of a house. So I was like, fuck, how am I meant to do this? And then I went to college to study social work. And for a lot of you guys listening to this, whether you're starting out, you're in school, maybe you've left school, maybe you're in college, or maybe doing something else like an apprenticeship, my whole philosophy in life was always, hey, if I continue to do the same things, how can I expect different results? And so I was like, okay, I need to do something different. Let me go to college. So I went to college, did that for a year. And when the year ended, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be doing 6 years of this just to earn to 36K a year. That doesn't really make sense. And so I dropped out. And what I did was I actually moved out to Italy. At the time,
Mm.
there was like a program where you could go out and work like in a camp and get paid, have a shelter over your head. My college was all online. It was towards the tail end of year one, and everybody knows year one is you don't really do much
Do
anyways.
nothing.
You do nothing anyways. You're just tossing around. And so I was like, right, well, let me take it. And I went out, and one of the people there, they noticed that like I always spoke about business. I was speaking about stocks. I was speaking about investing a lot. And they're like, why don't you start your own business?
Mm.
You know, Warren, like you're talking about business, you're talking about companies, you're talking about say I didn't even know I was really talking about sales at the time. I was like, why don't you go into it? And I had like an epiphany moment there when I was like, you know what? This guy is right. why am I just waiting around and I'm waiting for an opportunity when the opportunity is already within me.
Mm.
The opportunity only exists if I go for it. And so that was probably like the turning point to be like, right, let me get into sales. Let me get into door to door.
And when you first got into door to door, like, did you expect it was going to go as far as it did? Like, leading sales seems like a million a month.
Um, Not exactly. I mean, my philosophy was going into it, at least if I don't make money, at least I learned a lot of at least I've learned a lot. If I'm working in a company where I feel like I'm learning, I'm growing, naturally I'll make money anyways.
Yeah.
And so my first month in door to door, I mean, you come home and you tell an Irish mom that, like, by the way, I'm dropping out of college. By the way, also I'm going into a commission only sales role, knocking doors in Cavan, Monaghan and Meath. She's like, well, what is there, like a screw loose here? Like what's happening? That was her original reaction. And at the end of the day, your parents only want the best for their kids
Mm.
anyway, so it's only a natural reaction to have. But I stuck through it. It's like, right, well, let me go through door to door, sell alarms that nobody wanted at the time, still be like one of the best at it in the country. And I did that for like 9 months. 3 months was in phone watch, and then 6 months I spent in with Air, the broadband company that runs all the broadband in Ireland, selling people broadband going door to door. That was
Yeah.
quite fun. They actually, if you're actually looking into getting into sales, like door to door will turn you from a boy to a man very quickly. I actually grew a beard in door to door, like
Really?
seriously. Like before, like little like te testosterone was not like I feel like it genuinely like makes you one think bigger, obviously, because you're like, right, well, I'm in control of my own income here, but
Yeah.
two, more seriously about your life. And I would recommend anybody to go into Air or go into like Vodafone and work from them. You get like a base salary, 2.5K a month. You get a company car if you have a driver's license. You get a daily rate on money for spending for
Mm.
food. You get travel insurance, all these insurances. You can have money go towards a pension. You can get very good commissions.
Yeah.
And like I think at the time I went from making 1K a month at McDonald's to dropping out making maybe 1.5K, 2K in phone watch to making 5 or 6K a month in Air.
Wow.
And I was very grateful for that. Like
Yeah.
Air, I always say great words about Air, its program, what they do, who they help, the company itself. They have very good incentives for people if they want to get into sales.
I have a question on that, like, because 6 grand, like, that's double than what you would be making if you were a social worker after whatever 4 or 6 years of college. Like, most people now, like, that's good money. You can live a good life with that. Why take the risk of going into online sales? Why bother?
Yeah, great question. I mean, a couple of things. You think like, right, social worker starting out, they're going to make 36K a year. Working with Air, I'm going to make 60 to 70K a year pretty easily. Like, why take the risk? It's
Mm.
a very valid question, but also from the start, I said my philosophy is if I continue to do the same things, how do I expect to get different results? I was like, well, I could stay here, be taxed in the Irish tax system. I could still do this for a period of time. But like, do I really want to be knocking doors in November, December, January, February in Ireland ever again? Like, probably not. I
Mm.
actually quit Air on like this last week of November, meaning I had 2 weeks left in December.
Yeah.
I remember quitting before Christmas and it was like -5 degrees that Christmas. So cold. And I'm here knocking doors selling people broadband at Christmas
Oh,
time, saving them a few bucks before Christmas. It's like that was probably the main reason. I remember sitting in the car freezing for 30 minutes, literally just to warm, not even my break, literally just to warm back up so I can have my hands be fluid to knock the next door. And I was like, I can't do this anymore. And so I got connected with people in the online space. I invested into a program at the time. And then also I decided, you know what? Let me uh let me get into this online stuff.
and then what was the kind of progression from, getting into the online space? Because first getting into that for a lot of people can be like, okay, you're hearing so many words. You might be hearing about a closer or a SDR or setter, like to then actually, being able to lead teams. What did that look like?
Yeah, great question. It happened very quickly because I'd already had experience managing a few people in door to door.
Yeah.
And so I used that as leverage to get
Mm,
into good roles. I didn't allow like quote unquote no experience in online sales hold me back from
mm,
getting the right roles that I wanted. And when I say that, I mean that in a way where nobody was getting in my way of getting what I want, not even myself. And so I was messaging a lot of people on Twitter. I was applying for roles in the community that I paid for at the time. And I had one guy reach back to me on Twitter, who I'm still good friends with today. And we go back and forth, share insights on the industry. And I must have followed up with this guy like 6 times because he posted on Twitter saying, "Hey, I'm hiring setters for one of my clients." I was like, all right, well, let me just take it. Right. Because even if I'm making less, like a slingshot, I'm taking one step back to have the opportunity of taking 5 or 6 steps forward. To me, that's a plus. To
mm,
me, that's something I should do. And when I did that and I followed up with them 6 times, I got the role. And so in that December, I got the role. I was working in door to door, balancing this other role in the evening for like 1 to 2 hours before I could go full time working on that role on the weekend. And then from there, what happened was I made 2.5K that December in that role.
mm,
I was like, this is like, if I can do this on like barely any experience, imagine what I could do in January.
mm,
And in January, I was still close. I went from, well, sorry, December, I went from setting to closing to then managing the team at the start of January.
oh, wow.
The team went from 150 to 350K in that January.
Mm,
And the business, like that allowed me to go from my earnings from 2.5K to 15K in like 30 days. That slingshot method where you slingshot, you take a step back to shoot forward, which is partly why I wanted to also leave door to door because in the January and like January 3rd, I moved to Alicante, Spain with a good friend of mine. And I was like, you know what? Let me just get to the heat. Let me get to somewhere warm and I'm going to perform better. And I did.
Now, most people like in the online sales, like people that don't know, like a setter is somebody who sets appointments and then a closer closes them. But the transition is normally like maybe a couple months. For some people as well to get to the sales manager can be even multiple years. I mean, how do you compress that into like less than 60 days?
Yeah, great question. I think there's a word that comes to mind and it's called, I didn't understand it at the time, but it's called quantum leaping. Quantum leap means a sudden, massive advancement or breakthrough, a huge improvement, not just a small step, originating from, yeah, I don't even need to read the rest of that, but you get the point. It's a quantum leap.
Yeah.
And I always ask myself, if I wanted to be in that position, like what would I be doing to deserve that role? There's a
Mm,
lot of people who are entitled,
mm,
who they feel like, I should be doing X because of Y. Well, that's actually the wrong way of thinking it. Just be good enough so that you naturally get it anyways. I was good enough on that role to tell the offer owner, by the way, your closer is shit. Let me close them. And I closed just under 30K before in a week, just before end of the year, going into the January. I told them, you have no processes with your whole sales team. Let me manage it. Let me help you get to that next level. I've done this before. I can do it again with the door-to-door team. And he gave me a very nice percentage of revenue, and I scaled it.
yeah. Yeah. And Warren, you come across like very confident, like you have like a lot of kind of self-belief in your goals as well. But was that always the case for you?
I would say no, because confidence comes from a couple of things. So it mainly comes from internal.
Mm,
how comfortable do you feel like within your own skin talking about certain topics, etc. And back in the day, no. I mean, I was this small 16, 19-year-old in McDonald's. I was this guy overly dressed, knocking doors for phone watch. And I think confidence comes from the fact that you know who you are. And for a long time, I didn't know what I really wanted. I didn't know what I really needed up
mm,
until I would say even like 1.5 years ago.
mm. And what was that? What was that switch 1.5 years ago? Like, what changed?
I started thinking about life differently, where if I was going to be a father, what will I need in my life? One, obviously, stability comes with that. Two, you need to find the right partner, which I have found now. And when you do that and you have somebody else that you're responsible for in your life financially, you think completely differently. You act completely differently. No longer am I like chasing people on my Instagram, texting girls. No, I just have that serene confidence in myself that like I have my soon to be wife. I have my place in Marbella. We have our office in Marbella. We have 20 employees out in Marbella. We have 400 people in our group. We have plenty of people using our software. We have, you know, plenty of clients. And like there's a level of confidence that even comes with that. I was speaking to Josh. Hope we'll get Josh on the podcast as well,
Mm,
hopefully for episode 30. And I'm sure Josh will share similar things where I wake up now. Like yesterday, I woke up and I turned around to my girlfriend and I was like, what day is it? Like, what, by the way, what day is it? And it was a Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. And I'm just so grateful with that because I've built everything in a way where I don't need to be involved as much. And I can wake up on a Tuesday and go play golf with my friends if I really want to. I think that's what a lot of people want. They
yeah.
want that control over their life, control over their time, the ability to obviously make more money. But why do we want to make more money? To feel more safe, more stable, to be able to travel, to be able to have money for their family, to be able to invest, to change their family tree instead of going from paycheck to paycheck, to have money behind them that works for them.
Mm, mm. And a lot of people, they might think that to get to maybe when they're making, 10 million plus a year, like it's constant, 16-hour days of work. Would you say that that's the case for you? Is that something that you kind of follow as well, or?
No, the complete opposite. I found a document from 2023, September 23. And a lot of that document spoke about what I wanted to do over the 3 years up until 2026. Not only did 90% of it happen, but happened in a way that I didn't think it would. Where a lot of the document I was talking about, I'm going to work like a horse, I'm going to do this, I'm going to work X amount of hours, I'm going to do that. I was like, now I'm doing, I think the opposite way. It's like, if I'm working, there must be an issue because I don't have somebody employed in this role to take this away from me and my time.
Mhm,
There's something wrong.
mhm.
And so I've gone from trying to work hard to get what I want to thinking and knowing that I already have. Because at the end of the day, living in Marbella doesn't cost that much money at all. Like you could live very comfortably in Marbella for 2, 3K a month, etc. Anywhere in Europe for 2, 3K a month. I have the girlfriend that I already want. I have the family that I already want. All my family is safe and healthy. I have the friends that I already want. I have people that I know that have 10, 20, 30 million in the bank and they've no friends. They've nobody that they can just go play paddle with. They've nobody that they can just go play golf with. And there's a level of rich in that people even with 10 to 20 million cannot buy.
And when you think of success, like what is success for Warren Mulvey?
Success is already here. It's already internal. Like at the end of the day, I already have everything that I need And so I actually get more
Mm.
because I'm in a state of abundance, not a state of scarcity. I'm not thinking about, oh, X amount that I don't have or this or that. It's more about, do I even need it? I don't think so. So success to me is somebody who people look up to, somebody who is loyal with their people, somebody who has a very high say do ratio. Whatever I say, I will do. Success looks like somebody who cares about how they look, cares about how they're perceived, thinks about everything as it's already done, not from a state of how can we get there? That's what success is to me. What about you, Hugh? What is success for Hugh?
It's a great question. I would say success for me is having good people around me, good family, friends, and most importantly, it's just good people and kind of working on something and building, building a business or a company or whatever that may be. And
Well, like when you say build a company, like why is that success? Like what about that do you feel like will give you to the point where you're like, I'm successful?
I don't think that there's any kind of milestone or anything where I'd feel like, okay, now I'm successful. But it's more like I just really like last couple of years, even any sort of small business that I've had, I've always just really enjoyed business and it's something that I'd like to do for the rest of my life, really.
Why? Why not just go the regular?
I like just constantly trying to get better, trying to help people and build a
Why
business.
is trying to get better and helping people important to
It's a
you?
good question. I'm not too sure if I know the answer to that.
Like what springs to mind when I say when you picture Hugh helping people and
Yeah.
inspiring them, like what about that makes you smile?
I would say like knowing that I could, make a difference to somebody, knowing that
And if
maybe
you make
it
a difference to them, how does that change their life? Like what does that difference look like?
might look like being able to help them maybe start their own business or something
And why is it important that you help them be inspired to create their own business? What does that do for you? What does that do?
gives me like fulfillment,
Hmm. What does that allow them to do when you've inspired them?
inspire others.
And I'll say it again, but inspiring others, like obviously you're doing this podcast, you're doing these YouTube videos, you're part of Affinity. You were on one of my sales teams before as well. I know you have the drive. I can see the spark in you. Why is that something that you're very passionate about?
It's a great question. I don't know. I don't know.
Can you maybe give me an example to why you might have been inspired to start this?
Yeah, actually. James Galligan. I came across James Galligan's video last last December, December of 2024. And I tried a couple of things before. I was like, okay, nothing works. But then I seen James Galligan and he was showing it was him and a couple lads, Irish lads, and they were just kind of talking about their businesses and whatnot. I was like, wow, there's actually other Irish lads who are, in the business space, like-minded, doing well for themselves. And I got through that video, I got connected to James and many others, and it kind of really helped me out. And just thought, like from that one video, a lot came out of it. So I thought, wow, I'd like to be able to do that for somebody else.
When you saw that video, how did that make you change? Like, what changed about your perspective on business, etc.? Like, what changed?
I would say it's just that it's possible. I thought like I tried like a lot of different stuff. Never actually gave anyone enough time. But I see like lads who talk like you, act like you, doing well for themselves. You really understand like okay, anyone can do it. If boys from County Cavan and Longford are doing it, then anyone can.
Yeah, 100%. We can do it from Calvin. Anybody in the world can do it. I have a closer on one of my sales teams. She's from Nigeria. She's from Nigeria with
Mm.
4 kids, and she makes 6 or 7K a month. If she can do it, anybody can do it.
Mm.
And
And
so, go on.
I was just gonna say, like you've had so much people on your sales team. I'm sure you've had people, who come and go, but what is it that is the difference between those who are, okay, average, below average, to those who are very, very good and very successful?
That's a good question. I think, which has some secret sauce. Like, I think the biggest difference is grit. And what I mean by that is the person who won't succeed is the person that crumbles under pressure. When you compare that person to the person who has grit, no matter what happens, maybe no leads come in today, maybe for the whole week, maybe our ads account gets blocked. That will not change the way they perceive the team. That will not change the way they perceive their day. They'll still make the same amount of money
Mm.
compared to somebody who shits the bed and says, you know what? And their first instinct is, I got to go and find another team. Because the reality is in sales, like at some point, you're not going to be hitting the revenue numbers that you want to hit. It's going to feel like you're forcing it, et cetera, et cetera. And you don't want to be like that. You don't want that to be part of the identity of the team. Because I feel like a team is only as good as the worst person on it. A team is only as good as the worst person on the team.
And for you, somebody, who's managed multiple different sales teams, some which are doing, 1 million a month, and from other people that you've seen and like what are some of the best traits in strong leaders?
Ooh, interesting. We're going from sales reps to leaders. If you ever read How to Make Friends and Influence People, not only will you see that you should say people's names often, you'll also learn, Hugh, that the biggest difference between humans and animals is that humans long to feel appreciated. The best managers, the best leaders in business understand that their team has a longing to feel appreciated. And those who don't know that or learn it maybe too late will always be losing sales staff, losing sales staff, losing sales staff.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And people who are out there, let's say they're not the best salesman right now, they're not doing well for themselves. Well, like,
Hmm.
what do you think? Like, first off, do you think that sales is something that most people kind of have? Is it something that you kind of like? Some people just don't have it in them.
If they think that they don't have it in them, they definitely don't have it in them. Right, one of my
Mm,
best reps in the past was Chinese, barely spoke English, and she was making 15 to 20K a month.
mm,
The only difference between her and somebody from the first world who leaves sales, crashes, burns, etc., is grit. She's able to put up with a lot of stress. She's able to put in a lot of hours to learn, to become better, to understand sales better, and thus she actually does better compared to somebody who just crashes and burns and gives up straight away.
mm.
And so the only limitation is the one that you set on yourself.
You're talking a lot about like grit and all kind of like internal like mindset. What happened in your life to actually, was there an obstacle or event that happened that kind of gave you this mindset?
I don't know if I can think of like one specific, moment where like deja vu, hurrah, I've had this massive realization. I think it's been a combination of trying, learning, going again, trying, learning, going again, trying,
Mm.
learning, going again, trying, learning, going again, up until the point where I made it statistically impossible not to succeed. Whereas other people would try, learn, fail, finish, try, learn, fail, finish, try, learn, fail, finish, and stop. And
What kept
so
you going?
I learned it just from experience.
And what kept you going? Like there's so many times, when you tried, you failed, just keep going again when you could have either gone back to the door to door, just been more comfortable. Why bother to keep going?
Why bother keep going? I think a lot of it is obviously ego, chasing bigger accolades, etc., getting better. But like I think I have the ability to change my family's tree in terms of its fortune, and I'm not putting that to jeopardy at all. It's already done. I've already changed the trajectory of the family tree. I've already changed it. And that realization, I think a lot of people have. And there's two people in those scenarios. One who decides, I'm going to take control of my life and put matters into my own hands and go after and be a go-getter. And the other version sits around and still watches Netflix all day. So if you're listening to this, you have a choice. You have a choice whether you can just stop and do nothing or keep going. And even with Hugh starting this is a great sign that Hugh will be massively successful, all because he's doing something that most wouldn't, that most people would shy away from, that most people would, not even step up to the plate with. Just like for yourself, Hugh, like why even do this in the first place? Right? I would even flip the question up to yourself. Why are you doing all of this? How come like this is important?
I want to learn. I feel like the best way, like you can look at all the YouTube videos, all the gurus, and it's tough to know like who to actually trust in these days, but I just want to learn. I think you can take so much, like if you interview 100 people there'll be a lot of things that might not apply to you, but the amount of gold that you'll get, like James Gallagher always says, take the gold, leave it there. That's my goal. That's what I want to do.
It's awesome.
Appreciate it. I
Probably a
appreciate
good,
it. And
probably a good point to go on.
no, you go ahead.
No, it's just a good point for anybody who's listening, like to take that on.
You were saying there as well, Warren, like, some people might be sitting there, watching Netflix. For those people who might say, like I want to do something, I want to be successful, but I just can't find the motivation to whatever, maybe go for a run, just do the little things. Like, what would you say to those people?
I would just say you're not going to make it. Right? There's two.
Mm,
No, I'm joking. I would say like what you should do is not just like, if somebody's training for a marathon, they don't think on day one with no running experience, having never done it before, they don't think, you know what, I'm going to just go for a 40K run today. Nobody does that.
mm.
You go, you know what, let me just do small runs to warm up. Slowly over time have this snowball to the point where they have the ability to even attempt the marathon. And it's the same in business. You build up these small wins, micro wins, micro wins, micro. Everything is a micro win. Your brain registers them as a ability to complete and a micro win. Micro wins bring momentum to upturns, micro losses to downturns. And so it's all in your hands. That's what I would say.
So really just focusing on like the little things, whether it be like making your bed, just getting out of bed at a time, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everything is a micro. And you wake up on time, the time that you said you're going to get up at. You got some sunlight this morning, micro win. You had shelter above your head, micro win. You went to the gym, micro win. You went to the sauna, micro win. You started working on your business, micro win. You created the logo, micro win. You created who do you want to be targeting, micro win. You start targeting those people, micro win. You start sending messages, you start doing outreach, you start learning more about your customers. You have some sales calls. You absolutely flunked the start the first sales calls, micro wins, micro wins, micro wins. And then all of a sudden, you have this micro win that tumbled into a massive win.
Hmm.
It's one
Hmm.
of like my core beliefs and core philosophies about any team.
And what are your core philosophies? I know you said that's one of them. Like when you come into a team, like what is the first thing you kind of try instill into, the sales reps?
Yeah, good question. There's a couple. I went through them at our Dublin event, the Mass Awakening, with the guys in December. We're actually doing a 12-month, 12 county road show. So
Hmm.
we'll be going all across the country and we can share some of this insight in person as well. People are there. And also at the Dublin one at the end of the year. What I walk through is like my core principles of any sales team. Number one is no excuses, no cope. I'll just not even listen to the excuses. They don't exist. It's a fugazi, fugazi. Number two is intensity. If you're not going outside of your comfort zone, how can you ever grow? Number three, action over procrastination. Now, the more that you do, the better you'll be. Why sit around and do nothing? Number four, let me pull these up over here so I can maybe even have a document that we can send to people after this. Confidence and belief. Every lead, every sales call each day is 100% closable and you can close it. No resistance to feedback, pulling all levers, micro wins, micro losses, team enforced standards, and integrity. Integrity is super important. Everything learned, everything spoken about is only within the team and to yourself. Gossip kills momentum. We do not gossip. Gossip is like probably one of the biggest reasons teams explode.
Really?
Mhm.
Have you seen that kind of unfold before? Like teams just like sales are gossiping, managers gossiping, and everything just goes down.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I had a guy come in to one of the teams last year and we called them like sleeper agents. They might look good, they might look like an A player, they might look like somebody who do really well. However, it's like they're like poison to the team. They're like whispering in the team's ears saying, this is not a good role to be in. This is not a good company. Look how bad this company is, X, Y, and Z. And then all of a sudden, if you keep hearing that over and over and over again, you'll start to believe it, even if you don't believe it.
Mm.
And that's what kills a team.
Mm.
People stop working, they stop going that extra mile, they stop pulling all levers, they stop moving with intensity, to stop just being themselves. And so killer, absolutely killer for a team.
I said at the start, you mentioned payday. I said we get back to it. I just remembered it there. So talk to us a bit about payday. Like, what was the actual inspiration kind of behind actually starting that in the first place, and what does the company actually do?
Yeah, 100%. The company was started by a business partner of mine, Joshua Ajayi. I'm sure Josh will be on Hugh's YouTube channel as well shortly. I know he definitely
Definitely.
asked. And for anybody listening, the reason it started was they were working with a team, Josh and David, and they scaled up from 100 to 300K a month. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, maybe the business owner overspent their money. Maybe they just mismanaged cash flow. They were overspending. They thought they had more money than they really had. And what happened was 80K invoice didn't get paid.
Mm.
Sales reps didn't get paid. Setters didn't get paid. Josh and David didn't get paid. And that inspired Payday because nobody is helping sales reps at the point of sale. Nobody in the world. And so we just did a public launch with a couple processors that everybody would know. It's going very, very well. And to me, it's $1 billion company
Amazing.
already. That's the way I'm acting about it.
I love it. I love the confidence, Warren. And for you, you've been around a lot of, hyper successful people. You surround yourself with very successful people day to day. What is the kind of the most common traits that you see among these people?
I would say the biggest thing that comes to mind is I don't even know how you would word this, but they can wear multiple hats. They're not just like exceptionally good at one thing.
Mm,
Sure, they probably are exceptionally good at one thing, but they're also good at everything else. You can't run a business, be really good at sales, be super good with marketing, be super good with client success, and have no idea how to manage your cash. The business just explodes. How can you be bad at managing cash flow?
mm,
Your whole business will explode. So they have the ability to wear multiple hats, understand it. They don't need to be involved in the day-to-day. They can hire people for it, but they need to know how to do it.
mm. Amazing, amazing. Now, I have one last question, Warren, just for your head. If me and you were to die today, what's one piece of advice that you would leave for the younger generation?
Well, touch wood, that doesn't happen. I would say you don't know when you're going to die. And the only thing that you do have control over is what you do today. There's a famous saying out there, it's like spend your money. 50% of your money is if you're going to die tomorrow, 50% is if you're going to live forever. Sure, it's a good way of looking at it, but you actually just genuinely don't know. And so if you're in this cycle of like going round and round and round and going to work and doing this and doing that, and you know it's not what you want to do, it is actually your choice to continue staying in that path. And the worst thing you can ask yourself on your deathbed is, what if I tried to do something different? That's the worst question you could ask yourself.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, look, Warren, this has been absolutely amazing. I really enjoyed this and thank you so much for coming on, getting into this episode.
No worries at all. Anybody who's listening, more than happy to answer questions on Instagram, Twitter as well. I'm sure Hugh can put the links inside the bio
Definitely.
and appreciate you having me on.
Of course, bro.